Hi guys, welcome to this example for calculating direction and distance. We have a task here which is to work out what is the direction of travel between Madrid and Barcelona, what's the bearing that we'd be travelling on if we were travelling from Madrid to Barcelona, and finally what's the distance that we would have to travel moving between those two cities. So with our map here we've got our compass rose showing us where north is. We've got our grid north lines here travelling from north to south, and we've got our east-west lines here travelling east-west. And we also have a compass rose here with our inter-cardinal points and our cardinal points, northeast, south and west, northeast, southeast, southwest and northwest. So our first job is to work out a direction of travel. So I'm going to draw a line between Madrid and Barcelona. Okay, so we can see that this line, if we were to follow this line here, we'd be roughly travelling east, okay, or somewhere between east, northeast and east. So I'm just going to type in east as our direction of travel. And the bearing that we're going to be travelling on, well, that we would expect to sit somewhere between 67.5 and 90 degrees. So we'll pull up our protractor. Okay, and this is an on-screen protractor. It has two numbers. The first number gives millimeters that this red line has been extended to, and excuse me, the second number there shows the number of degrees it's travelled. So we have 0 here. Okay, this is 0, and then as we come around our protractor we can see that the number goes up to 90 here and then through to 180. Okay, so we'll get this protractor crosshair sitting on Madrid, and we'll turn our protractor so we've got 0 pointing up north. Okay, and all we have to do then is start here at 0 and track around until we meet our red line. So we can see that our degrees are tracking along quite nicely here, 60 degrees, 70, heading up to 80, and we meet our red line there at 83, or rounding up we can go to 84 degrees. So I'm going to pop in 84 degrees here as our bearing. Let's just go back to our compass rose. So 84 does sit between 67 and 90 degrees, so we'll lock that in and confirm that as the correct bearing. Okay, next job, we're going to have to work out what is the distance between these two cities. So we'll want to know what is the distance between them on the map first of all. So I'll get my little red line to go all the way from Madrid to Barcelona. So that looks to be about 72 millimeters on the map. So we will add that in down here, 72 millimeters. Now to work out what is the distance on the ground, we're going to have to look at what the scale of this map is. And we can see that the scale there on this map is 1 unit on the map represents 9 million on the ground. So we'll type that in here. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, so we want to move from 1 to 72, so that is a multiplication of 72. If we multiply 1 by 72, it gives us 72. So I'm just going to write that in just so we can see it clearly. This cell here equals 1 multiplied by 72. Now, just as we do with fractions, whenever we're trying to keep the ratio in proportion, we want to do the same to both sides. So if we've multiplied this side by 72, then we'll also want to multiply this side by 72. So let's do that right now. This equals 72 times what's written in here, which is 9 million. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, so we end up with this big number here, 648 million millimeters between Madrid and Barcelona. Well, that's a little bit cumbersome, so let's get that into some units that make a little bit more sense to us. So I'm going to go through a series of steps here of converting millimeters, centimeters, meters and kilometers. first one, let's convert millimetres to centimetres. 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre, so we're going to do a division which just takes our floating decimal point one place to the left and gives us 5 zeros. Right, so that ends up being around 65 million centimetres, still a really big number, so let's do another division here. Turning it into metres, 100 centimetres in 1 metre, so we want to move our floating decimal point 2 places to the left, which gives us 3 zeros, 6, 4, 8. Alright, so that's 648 metres, and it's getting a much more manageable number, but kilometres would be even more practical for our purposes. So let's have a look at that. 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre. We're going to take our floating decimal place 3 places to the left to represent a division by 1,000. 1, 2, 3 gives us 648 kilometres between Madrid and Barcelona.